had plans for Canada, but they didn't let me in, everyone. Hello, everybody. This is Eddie Enigma. This is the Eddie Enigma Show. And I want to talk about my trip that I planned to go to Canada, but it didn't happen because they stopped me at the border. And it's a long story, and I really don't want to get into that. Yeah, and the main reason for my trip to Canada was going to visit a friend of mine that I met online and became close. And even though I wasn't able to go across, we still were able to have a good time. She came across and saw me, and we hung out. You know, we made the best of things. And sometimes uh, life throws you an obstacle, and you kind of have to overcome it. I ended up staying in Detroit since Detroit was a border town of the city I was going to, and I never been to Detroit. I went to downtown Detroit, went to Hitsville, USA, Mowtown. Since I was here, I was no way I was not going to see the Mowtown Museum. I was in Greektown. Uh, Tomorrow I'm going to go down uh, uh, to the center of downtown where the stadiums are, where the Pistons play, the Detroit Lions, the Tigers. You know, just take a little video and see the architecture of the scenery. It's so much different than the West Coast. I like to say that driving through Detroit, I noticed that a lot of the city is in transition, and there are a lot of dilapidated old houses that are vacant and a lot of wide open fields, and it's pretty interesting to see. Um, the architecture of the homes are quite different than the ones on the West Coast. There are a lot of brick homes, a lot of Tudors, looks like a lot of colonial style homes, but I like the architecture. I'm digging it. It's super cold here, much colder than California. I mean, the cold that I've experienced here is, because California cannot compare to being this cold. Not even in the northern part of California. I wouldn't mind moving out to the Midwest or the East Coast, or a state like Michigan. I like the weather. I like having the four seasons, and I enjoyed the food here so far. Coney dogs. If you ever get a chance, go taste them. I mean, it's pretty good. It's different. But I like the flavor. I mean, I like the vibe here. I liked the vibe when I was in downtown Detroit. I heard a lot of jazz playing. Now, during the tour of Hitsville, I had to wait for a little while. The tour was about an hour long. Just gave us a little short 15-minute film on the history of Motown. It was pretty much done by Barry Gordy himself back when he was a young man, and told us the history of him and his family. And then we got to go look around and see a lot more history, a lot of the albums, how they went from being average young kids to becoming big stars. We learned the mechanics of what made the Motown machine work. And Barry Gordy had a business-like mindset from the very start. He used his days at the automotive industry, working for the automotive industry and he incorporated that into Motown Records. He figured out how to mold young artists and turn them into superstars. And it took him a little time. He started out the company with $800, if you can believe that. That's how Motown first got started. He started with $800 to start Motown. So he went through the museum. We saw all of the albums, a little bit of history of some of the groups, how they got started. Martha Reeves and the Vandellas, Smokey Robinson and the Miracles, Marvin Gaye, the Temptations, of course, the Jackson 5, and you get it, so on and so forth. We weren't allowed to take any pictures inside of the museum itself, except for one area, and they allowed us to take pictures at the end of the tour inside the room where they performed a lot of the songs that were written by Motown. We were allowed to take pictures there for a brief moment before we exited, but we couldn't take pictures of the actual studio itself, just that particular section that I have showing up on my video here. We were allowed to take pictures outside. As you can see in front of Hitsville, USA. I couldn't hesitate. That's the first thing I did when I got there. But, all in all, it was a good tour. The tour guide was very informative. She gave us every little detail, a lot of the inner workings of how Motown worked. I'm not going to go into that. I was eager to see Hitsville, USA, and all those great artists that I love, that my parents grew up with, and that I come to love through my parents. Let me know what you think of Detroit. If you have never been here, if you're ever thinking about coming here, these are some of the things you might want to consider. Well, you guys have to end the video here. Once again, this is Eddie Enigma, Enigma 5, and I will see you in the part 2 of this video. Peace.